Page 78, O Sole Mio. Very famous melody, most people will recognize this. At the top of the page they say they're introducing you to a new style of bass. It's simply a pattern for the bass. They're showing a 1 chord and a 5/7 chord because we're in the key of F. And it's a broken chord in the first measure and a block chord in the second. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. You get the idea? 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And that's throughout this piece you're going to see that rhythm. The 5/7 chord it's the same rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now at the bottom of the page on 79 there's a little box about arpeggiated chords. Arpeggiated, arpeggios, whatever. Great big long word, simply means you roll the chord. By roll the chord, it's like a wheel rolling, or a coin. If you spin a coin on a table and it gradually slows down and it kind of flattens out and it does this at the end, that's a roll. And what we're doing is we're simply rolling it. It's not rhythmic, it's just rolled. The chord they're showing there at the bottom of it's in the last line on page 79 in the middle. See that squiggly line? That's a symbol and it means arpeggio. Arpeggiate this chord. And you're going to play each of these notes here. These notes one at a time, just real quick. Just there. There's no rhythm to it, you just do it. You get arpeggios all over the. I'll talk more about them as we go through because there's different ways of doing it and the different interpretations and different. We'll get into it. For this piece, just roll them. We just want to hear 5 notes. Now I'm going to use the 2/5 on the right hand because I don't want to put the thumb on there. So and that's arpeggios. It's a type of broken chord. It's another type. Because there's a way to arpeggiate chords with a rhythm, and I'll talk about that later on. Right now, just roll it, just boom. So, key of F major, let's look at the right hand. At the beginning here on these chords, they have fermatas on each one, and so you'd hold out each one, and as far as how long you hold it, it's a felt thing, and you don't have to hold them all the same length. It's you might hang on to the last one for emphasis or something. When I play with a metronome, I just double the value. So I'll hold each one for 2 counts. It's kind of a dry way of doing it, but that fits me. Watch the fingering. The last measure, the first line, now it's 3/5. So you got to come down. You're going to lift up. Just follow their fingering here. The last measure on page 78, look at this, you're here, then you're going to lift up, move down, and then 1-3, 2-4, 3-5. This is an important move in piano. It's awkward at first, but it's important you get it, and you should do this in both hands. This business here to here to here, and back down. Technically, because I don't do a lot of technique teaching. The way I do this, because I use a weight control, a weight drop when I play, the weight of my hand and arm is pushing the notes down, or note or whatever. In this case, I'm starting out, let's just do this little exercise here. Forget the notes written in there, it's just here. So I'm going to play the 1-3, I'm going to drop the arm down to play the notes. And I'm going to raise the wrist up. I'm going to hold the notes down, raise the wrist up, and as I lower the wrist again, I'm simply going to switch which fingers are down. The wrist lowering that pushes the notes down. I don't use finger muscles to push notes down. Here, and that, and then I do it again with this time with the 3 and the 5. Exaggerate that at first. Get it up, down. Exaggerate it. Then as you get better at it, you don't have to exaggerate. Eventually it'll be a very little move, but it'll be there. It just a bit. You'll get it eventually, just hang in there. But do it in both hands, here, then here. You can't concentrate on both hands at the same time, one hand at a time. The point is, learn to do this. Up, down, up, down, up. It's that downward motion that pushes the notes down. All I'm doing is switching which fingers are going to be down, is all it is. So in this piece, you're here. It's the same idea. And then going on at the top of page 79, the last couple of notes, here, lift up and move. They say here, I don't like that. I would recommend you use third finger on the C, and 2, 4, and then going on, second line is 2 on the B flat. Now you can use 3, 5, because it's a D flat F. Isn't that nice? And then 2, 3, and then 1, 3. Their fingering works, but that assumes you have the thumb on the B flat. When you're here, you can just do that. And then lift up at the end of that line for the you're going to move for the quarter note. Third finger on the A. And then the rest of it you got. And then the last line, page 79, you're here, second measure, lift up and move here. Now if you're gonna put the thumb on the B flat, it's second finger on the C. But if you're gonna use second finger on the B flat, then you want a thumb on the C. So it's from the first measure, instead of 2 in the next measure, put a thumb there, and then you can roll it. And then the 4, and then 1, 2, 5. And if you can play that F louder than the other notes, do it. I just put a little more weight on that. Rather than here, it's here. That's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to push down harder with the fingers, what I'm saying. I'm letting the weight do it. I put more weight on that key, it's louder. You should be able to bring out any note in a chord. Put more weight on the thumb. Put more weight on the middle finger. Takes practice, but the idea is you want to develop the control that where you're in full control of every note you play. Eventually, it'll take a while, but I'm letting you know what to shoot for. Now for the left hand, we get this bass pattern they've got over on page 76 here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And it's that pattern throughout most of this. At the top of page 79, it takes the first measure of that pattern and repeats it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. There's a B flat, D flat. Now if you don't want to put the thumb on the D flat, you can do that because the little finger, there's no black key there. You got more room to come up here. But if you still don't want to do that, then you use 3 and 2. And that pretty much that way until we get to the bottom. The last line on page 79, it starts out the same. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And then the last two measures, 1 and 2. Come down with the thumb on the C, and here, 5. Rhythm-wise, I'm hoping this rhythm is not a problem. I mean, it's straightforward. You have some dotted rhythms, but if you can do the 1 and 2 and 3 and, that should work out okay for you. The only other thing I want to add is this arpeggiated chord down here. When I play an arpeggiated chord, because different people do this differently. They won't agree. This is the way I do it. You'll have to decide how you're going to do it. But when I do an arpeggiated chord, I do the first note, the bottom note on the beat. So it's 1, 2, 3, and there's a fermata there. I'm going to hang on to it for one extra beat and then go on. Some people will play the top note on the beat. So it's like 2, 3, like that. I don't, but simply be out of habit. I was taught in college to put the bottom note on the beat, and that's the way I've always done it since. So that's the way I do it here. Now let's talk about the pedal. You could get away with this piece with no pedal at all, just fine, but they're sticking it in. So let's see what we got going. I'd like to make some suggestions. I generally will make suggestions with pedal. See, the pedaling they give you in these method books is usually a pretty simple pedaling, and to me that messes it up. So I'm going to complicate the pedaling just a little bit in order to enhance the sound a little bit. Now the way they're showing this at the beginning is you're going to pedal the first couple of measures and a beat or so. So it would be this way. In the second line, they're showing pedaling most of the line, so it would be this way. I think that sounds terrible because it just smears everything together. I mean, this is a schmaltzy song anyway, but it doesn't mean we got to turn it into ugh. So I'm going to suggest some pedal changes. We're going to legato pedal or overlap pedal at the beginning on these chords. I'm push the pedal down right after I play the notes. The first two notes are fine because they're the same, the chords. But then on the third one, right after I play that note, I'm going to lift the pedal up and put it down. It's called changing the pedal. I'm going to change the pedal because I don't want to smear this. I don't want all that. If you like that sound, you go for it. I don't. So I'm going to change the pedal so that last chord is sounding alone, and then when I play the chord in the next measure, I'm going to change the pedal again. Because I don't want any of this sounding when I play the second measure. I want that to be clean. So I'm going to pedal at the beginning. Pedal, change the pedal, change the pedal. And as I play the C-E in the last measure, I lift the pedal up. Second line, push the pedal down right after you play the notes. And again, in the second measure, I'm going to lift the pedal up and pedal it. It's like the last measure of the first line. I don't want to pedal those quarter notes. So it's... Now, then in the third measure, I can pedal it again. And then the last measure, I lift it up, so I'm not pedaling the quarter notes. And then go on to the top of page 79. Here you can pedal it like they're showing you to. But lift the pedal up before you play the quarter note in the second measure. Lift the pedal up so we get a little silence here. So here, and then push the pedal down after you play the notes in the last measure of the first line. So the first line on page 79 is this way. First measure of the second line, I'm going to lift the pedal up after I play the chord in the left hand. I'm going to hold the chord down, it's a whole note. I'm just not pedaling that measure. And then I can pedal the next measure. Then we're going to repeat that, and there's no reverse repeat sign in this piece, so we got to go all the way back to the beginning. Oh goody. And we do all that again, and then in the second time around we do the last line, the second ending. So we're pedaling it here, and when I do the rolled chord, I'm going to change the pedal on the first note of that chord. I don't want to smear this and this. It's the same chord, it's not that bad. I just want a clean chord when I roll it. So the first two measures of the last line. And then I push the pedal down, I'm going to lift the pedal up when I play the eighth note. And then push it down right after I play the notes in that next measure. And the pedal and the hands come up at the same time at the end. And I'll hold that last quarter note with the fermata 2 counts instead of 1. And that's what I recommend, that you take a little pencil and just mark in those little pedal markings. You may have to watch this more than once, oh darn, and see, experiment. I just don't like a lot of blurriness in pedaling. I think it sounds terrible. Now, dynamics. It's loud. That's the melody. It's the top note in the right hand. If you can, bring that out. If not, just play the chord as best you can, but play the right hand louder than the left. Keep the left hand fairly quiet. But it's loud. It says legato. That means connected. Well, the pedal's going to help out, but you still do it with the hands. You want to feel the legato. So here, and then it takes off. It's all legato though. There's no staccato in this at all. So just there. And it's fairly loud all the way through. Now go over to page 79, third line on the first ending. You see a decrescendo there on the last few measures. How much you get soft, it's up to you. It doesn't say. So just, it's dying away here. So as the left hand's playing those, let it continue to get softer. And then when you repeat, you're loud again. Wake them up. And you do all that again, and then in the last line on page 79, you have the retardando, which means you're going to gradually slow down, and this is all the way to the end. And you have that crescendo in the second measure. So you're here, here, and it's the G we're after, that's the note. Do the best you can. Slower. It's the G we're after there. Hold that out for a bit, and then lift everything up so the 8th note is by itself. And you're still slowing down, and now you're getting softer in the left hand. Die away. That last note would be sort of medium soft. You have to experiment with the dynamics, but learn it first and get all the technical stuff out of the way first, and the pedaling and all that, and then you start to feel it, and that's where it comes alive. That's where the dynamics really play a role. So you may adjust the dynamics a little bit depending on how you feel. It says moderately slow. I know you can find all kinds of recordings of this, so you'll decide how slow it is. For the play with me, we're going to go really slow. So it starts on beat 2. Notice there's only 3 beats in the first measure. It starts on beat 2. So I'm going to give us 5 counts. That's a full 4 counts plus 1, and then we'll start in. And remember, I'm holding each of these quarter notes 2 counts each because of the fermatas. So start out with your hands here and here. Foot's on the pedal. 1, 2, 3, 4, go. 2, hold, 3, hold, 4, hold.